Okay, up next we have roll call. If you can start, council, start your... Okay, Holly?
We have a quorum with 6 councilors present. I am not too sure on Councilor Carson. I don't know if you've heard anything from him, but...
Okay, I haven't heard anything from Councilor Carson.
Okay.
But thank you, though.
You are welcome.
Okay. There he is, right there,
Okay,
Councilor Carson. Okay.
Party slip.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the agenda approval.
Mayor, do we have to get Mr. Carson in there?
Okay.
I don't know. Holly?
He's here. Okay. Go ahead, Councilor Carson. Let's see. We'll do it over, okay? We'll start over. Okay, start, please. You're welcome. Okay, Holly?
All councilors present and a quorum has been declared.
Okay, thank you so very much. Okay, the next item is the agenda approval.
If there's no changes, Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Start voting, please. Ms. Holly?
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the item is citizen comments. At this point, if you would like to make a comment, please make sure that you filled out one of these comment cards and turn them in to our city clerk, and then you will be able to come up to the podium. When you come up to the podium, if you don't mind, state your name, and we will ask for you to keep your comments below 3 minutes. They will have a timer. When we get to the 3-minute time limit, I will ask you politely to, if you would, step down and let someone else come up and speak, okay? Okay, the first comment card I have is from Ms. Merlin Lozer.
Good evening. I'm Marilyn Loser. I live at 507 Pikes Peak in Alamosa. Good evening. I'm here because I have several concerns regarding the proposed RV park that involves selling Alamosa Ranch property. Usually, I come before City Council regarding trees. I'm on the tree board because I value our open spaces, wildlife habitats, plants, and animals. While I am a tree hugger, I also have an economics degree and background. I am wondering what research went into assessing the viability of such a huge RV park in our area. I know folks have worked hard on this proposal and are interested in economic development. From talking to tourism personnel around the state, I understand that visitors to such areas as Salida, Poncha Springs often stay longer than they do in Alamosa. Yet checking out RV parks in that area, including north all the way to Nathrop and east to Cotopaxi, I could find only 328 RV sites. I also understand there are 2 new proposed RV parks in Alamosa, North River Greenhouse and Splashland. From what I could ascertain on the web, Alamosa has about 172 RV sites now, a little more than half of what Salida, Poncha Springs has. Who is going to fill the 500 proposed sites near the golf course, as well as those at the 2 other proposed parks? It strikes me as all out of proportion. It would bother me less if they weren't asking to take Alamosa ranch land away from the citizens. Why, in a time when many municipalities are refurbishing or trying to acquire open space, are we selling ours? What is it about the proposal that made City Council buy into it? The Courier reported that architect Don Spencer said he did not know of many RV resorts like this one adjacent to a golf course. I went online. RV Golf Club says 428 properties currently available to RV Golf Club members. ElMonteRV.com lists 54 golf courses. I also looked at, is that my time left? Yes. Okay. I also looked at some other websites, and including Blue Mesa Reservoir with its 300 full websites, and that's a coast-to-coast network property, an additional 111 sites around Blue Mesa Reservoir for a total of 411 sites around a 96-mile destination area. I'm not against an RV park thoughtfully sized and located in Alamosa, but this proposal sounds unreal. I do thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Next, we have Julie Mordecai. She's out there, okay. Don Thompson.
My name is Don Thompson. I live at 924 8th Street here in beautiful southern Alamosa. And thank you, Mayor Coleman and councilors. I realize that you people are much more familiar with the proposal at the golf course and the Alamosa Ranch than am I. So my comments are strictly from what I have been able to ascertain. Like many people in Alamosa, I share a great love for our Alamosa Ranch. I have had many opportunities to enjoy the ranch, and I feel a strong concern about protection of the ranch. Like many people here in town, I'm one of the ones that will only be negatively impacted by the proposed development. All the things that go with growth that are negative, I'll be able to enjoy. I know you won't believe me, but for the last 40 years, economic development has not trickled down, it has trickled up. I'm not one who would benefit either from trickle down or trickle up. The idea that additional taxes and so forth are beneficial, I can show you example after example where development has not paid its own way. The one thing that I have heard that at least interests me is the possibility of exchanging some ranch land for privately held lands there on the golf course area that would have higher environmental values. To me, that might be something that would actually benefit the citizens of Alamosa. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Up next, we have Matthew Eichel.
Good evening. Yes, my name is Matthew Eclay, and I live at 602 Cottonwood Drive here in Alamosa. And I've lived here since 1996. I share the concerns expressed by others regarding the preservation of our open space, water supply, and river wildlife corridor. But I wanted to discuss, concentrate on a different area of concern, namely potential traffic impacts. With up to 480 units, the proposed RV resort has the potential to become essentially an instant city. I did some calculations, and at like 90% capacity or so, the number of people that could be in the park could be up to 15% of the entire current population of the city of Alamosa, all in a space of 65 acres. I'm not so much concerned about the RV traffic as what happens after the campers arrive. They're likely going to settle in, unhook their cars or trucks from their RV, set up camp, pull up Google Maps to find the shortest routes into town. And what is that shortest route? It's inevitably going to lead to the State Avenue Bridge, pouring vehicles directly into the intersection of First and State and all that residential streets and neighborhoods surrounding that. How does the city propose to handle this additional traffic burden? I've not seen that addressed anywhere, especially since these are not major thoroughfares. These are neighborhood streets filled with children, dogs, bicycles, etc. I thank you so much for your time, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Up next, we have Peter Wise.
Good evening, all. Thank you for your time and attention. My name is Peter Wise, and I live on 83 State Avenue in Alamosa. The reason I'm here speaking is because I have concerns about the proposed RV park development going up on the golf course and the city ranch. I moved here this year to Alamosa, and I'm a volunteer through the program Mennonite Voluntary Service. Most of the folks who I hang out represent a very large sector of the Alamosa population. Alamosa has a wonderful presence of volunteers and people who come in to work. And a lot of those people are folks who stay around and stick around for their lives because, like me, they fall in love with Alamosa. That being said, one of the things that's a real draw to the city is that my primary form of recreation takes place on the levee system and on the disc golf course, going up through the golf course to the disc golf course. To me, I have very limited car access, as do a lot of other people, so getting out to the mountains, even though you can see them from miles away, is still something that's pretty hard to do. So the area that's the RV parks being proposed to is, I think, a lot of people's primary recreation that they're able to get to by bike and foot. So my concern would be that an RV park, if it should be there, I am not against an RV park development in the city, but that it should be carefully proposed as to where the area will be, as it also impacts the wildlife and the aesthetic beauty of the area, particularly if the RV park should be built on lands where cottonwood trees stand. There's not a whole lot of trees in Alamosa, particularly mature cottonwoods, and I would feel that it would detract a lot from the aesthetic beauty and the recreational value of the area should an RV park be put in around the golf course. So with that in mind, if that land should also be impacted, wildlife there will also be impacted. And that's another concern I have, is it's south of the river in Alamosa is largely developed, and the northern sector is a viable connected wildlife corridor that, if it would be farther fragmented, that would hinder good wildlife habitat. So thank you for your time and years. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Up next, we have Jan Owen.
Good evening. I'm Jan Owen. I live at 924 8th Street in Alamosa. The Alamosa Ranch property is a crown jewel for the citizens and visitors to our valley. Recreation on our commons was central to the recent revitalizing the Rio public meetings. I walk the trails on a regular basis. I'm a birder. I watched a white-breasted nuthatch the other day, a red-tailed hawk. It's prime birding habitat. As to the proposed RV development's request to purchase 35 acres of the Alamosa Ranch, the question is what do the citizens receive in exchange for giving up a portion of our public asset? Could swapping some of the ranch be used to preserve some of the tree islands within the golf course? Are there other options? I see this as a two-pronged issue. First of all, the existing development proposal, and second, really the long-range vision for the Alamosa Ranch. As a citizen, I would like to see us be proactive about having a long-range plan for the ranch that would preserve areas of critical concern, highlight buffer zones, and identify potential pieces for other uses. A ranch advisory committee should be appointed to work with the existing rec board on the promotion of this as a public asset. While I'm not opposed to an RV park in or around Alamosa, I am opposed to chipping away at our public open space to benefit a few financially. Let's work together to create a plan for the Alamosa Ranch which benefit all citizens of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Beth Kinney.
Hello, I'm Beth Kinney, and I live at 813 Hunt Avenue in Alamosa. I have 4 main points. Some have been mentioned already, but I'll be redundant and quick. I hope that this RV park issue will precipitate, as Jan alluded to, a plan for the future of Alamosa Ranch. Such a plan could distinguish areas that might be good for future development, and also distinguish areas that should be protected in perpetuity using something like a conservation easement, so that we don't see it kind of being chipped away piece by piece without an overall plan. Secondly, I advocate, as others have, some kind of a swap, perhaps, where we could swap some of the Alamosa Ranch land in exchange for some of the cottonwood-covered areas that are so precious to our citizens, even though they are privately owned at this point. And I think that creative ways of swapping really should be entertained by the council. Third, I believe that the city needs to carefully consider and protect its interest in such a development. You know, the added traffic, added maintenance to the roads, things like that. And ultimately, is this really going to pay for itself? I have a question of whether it will. And I feel like that really needs to be carefully considered. It's not like I'm against having an RV park out there, but I sure feel like our citizens should receive something in exchange for giving up some Alamosa property. Along that same line, access to any trails that are made in the ranch, in the RV park, or other items of recreation there that might be helpful to the citizens, really should be a point of discussion if this does go forward. I know there was an allusion to that, but I read also maybe 2 swimming pools. How's that going to impact splashland? And if, what would be the access to our citizens to trails that are built by the RV park? So those are my 4 considerations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have Ruthie Brown.
Aha, I'm going to speak on something else. A friend of mine, January 14th, I posted a picture of my truck with debris in the back that I couldn't take to the recycling yard because it's closed on Sundays. And a number of people commented, and last year I did the same thing. So Ty sent you an email that was forwarded to Heather. I'd like to read you real quick my response here. I believe that folks would use the recycling center on Sundays from 10 to 4 if it was open, and longer hours on Saturday, especially during spring, summer, and fall. I always meet someone else going to recycle only to have to turn around and go home or go to the country and dump their loads. It is way more than composting yard waste. Is there an estimate on what it would cost per hour to have someone working these extra hours? Is it necessary to have someone on site? As Kat mentioned, no one is hardly ever seen at the center, and certainly no one helps you unload. Does it matter if there are 3 to 5 people who want to recycle, or 10, 20? Is our time not all valuable? And I'm paraphrasing here. What would it hurt to be open for longer hours? And again, what is the estimated hourly rate to have a person on duty if necessary? Heather's response: no, I do not have a cost estimate for the additional hours since the utilization has not prompted an evaluation. We're going to market hours better and such and such and such. My response: what I am asking, if you paid someone an hourly rate, would it be minimum wage with benefits? What does that figure out to be? Adding insurance, workman's comp, vacation if applicable? I'm looking for a simple figure. I can do the rest of the math. Heather's response: we are not running the numbers or evaluating which positions it would require. Wow. No answer. Not even $15 an hour, we're not going to do it. So I went to the recycling center today. You have a guy working 40 hours and you have a guy working 30. If you gave that guy 10 hours and made him a full-time employee, it costs about $6,500 a year. Let's double that and say $1,300. Is that too much? To let people, you serve the people, you don't serve the city, you serve the people who can't recycle during your time. So I would like to know, why is the city so short of funds that we can't have the recycling center open just 6 more hours?
Thank you. Up next, we have Elise Rudolph.
Thank you, Mayor and council people, for providing the opportunity for public input. I hope that your decisions and your whole process concerning the ranch remains open and transparent. I'm Elise Rudolph, and I have lived 40 years at 511 Brown Avenue in Alamosa. I have a couple of comments about economic development in general. Always look at the balance sheet. Do the benefits outweigh the detriments? You consider the short-term costs, but also consider the long-term costs in terms of services, added services, any concessions that you might be asked to make. But don't just look at the monetary cost. Look at aesthetics, inconveniences, and other impacts on the citizens of our great city. I learned a new word a couple of weeks ago: economism. Economism is where every social, political, and cultural factor is reduced to an economic one. Do we want to fall into that trap? I don't think so. I echo comments from previous speakers about needing a long-term plan for this beautiful ranch. There are parts of it that are definitely more amenable to development, and we should get those outlined and put on a plan. What is the value of open space? To me, it's invaluable. Every time I come over Levita Pass and look down into the San Luis Valley and all of the open space and the open sky, I breathe a sigh, because I've just been caught in traffic in Denver or something 4 hours ago. So thanks for your time.
Thank you. And the last card we have is Julie Mordecai.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Julie Mordecai, 12 Cottonwood Place, Alamosa, Colorado. I'm here because I believe that people should be able to make a living and that we should have businesses in this community, various types. I owned my own business here for 10 years. I owned an inn. I believe that folks should be able to conduct business And we should do it, and we should have, but there are rules and regulations around that we have set up through zoning and planning. I've been working hard with so many of our partners in this room, so many partners across this town, the city, the county, to do a plan for our river, to do our, we already have a great comprehensive plan due to the foresightness of you guys and Heather and everybody else. But I also think that we need to have a plan for this ranch. And I think that we need to become less reactive and more proactive as a community. And we're all doing that in different ways, with the river corridor development, the way we're working, the way we did the comprehensive plan, and now the next step is the ranch plan, and Andy and I and everyone are talking about a outdoor recreation plan. And so I just want to I want that mantra that we need to be proactive. We can't be at the whim of anybody who walks in and says, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And really, when you look at this ranch, there are pieces of it that are really great for development for our community. And there are pieces that really need to be protected. And, and then I'm not so wed to that it's this 1,200 acres. I think we should use what we know about what's special and do some trading. And say maybe with the RV park, maybe, because I did talk a lot, I've met with Randy, I've walked the space with him, that we should look at some of these special places and do some trading. This is our canary in the coal mine. This is our chance. I look at this as an opportunity to really work together. People who see themselves as developers, those of us that see ourselves more as conservationists. I'm kind of like in between. I love economic development. I want us to join hands, get to the table, work together, both left and right, center, middle, and get this figured out so we don't have to have controversy. Because once we plan this, if somebody comes in and says, I want to do this, and it's in the plan, we can do it. Or if they want to do it in a place that has a bunch of beautiful birds, we can say, no, you can't do it there because that's being saved for our community and our legacy. So let's work together to have a great plan. And I think Heather's ready to do it. I just want you guys to want to do it too. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you who had comments tonight. We really appreciate it. Follow up? Eric?
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly on the process here, it is staff's understanding that the developer is planning on having a public meeting sometime in the near future. That's not a city meeting, that's not a city function, that's a meeting that the developer wanted to have. We don't know yet when that is, but when we know that, we'll put it on the website under that link that has the drop-down link on ranch issues. And then secondly, just so that we're refreshed, the city has put out an RFP to see whether there are any other proposals for that particular 35 acres. That RFP closes on February 16th, I believe it is, and there will be sometime thereafter a public meeting held by City Council that will be specifically designed to take comments from the public about the issues once we know more about what those issues are. So that is yet to be scheduled, but that will be scheduled sometime after February 16th and before any formal action is brought before council for consideration.
Thank you very much, Eric. Councilor Griego?
I just, right along the same comments, Mayor, if I can. The council, all what the council has done so far is, there was a group that came to the city manager that were interested in doing a project in the city of Alamosa. So the city manager they brought them to us. We had a work session just to get an idea of what they really wanted to do. But just as the attorney has mentioned, there's a long process. This has to be as transparent as possible. You know, there's a process that this council takes before it does any action. You know, it gots to go back to the people. We're representatives of the people. So this has to go back to, it's not some shady deal that's done under the table or something like that. No, don't work that way. So it just, as he mentioned it, there's a process, and as soon as that process begins, it'll be publicized, and people should be able to come in and attend and voice their opinion. So this is just something that was brought to our attention and kind of started the thing, and then now the process starts, and people will be able to come and voice their opinion for and against it. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Griego. Okay, the next item is ceremonial items. I know Heather is at a conference, and Chief Oaks is here today in her place. Under ceremonial items, we have the introduction of Desiree Cordova, the new administrative assistant. Who's going to take?
Jolene is actually going to come and introduce her.
Oh, Jolene is? Okay, Jolene, if you could, come up. I appreciate it.
Good evening, Council. So tonight I have the pleasure of introducing our newest employee in the City Manager's office, Desiree Cordova. She's been hired to fill the position of the Administrative Assistant, and she will provide support to the City Manager's office, HR office, Public Relations and Project Specialist, City Attorney, and the IT office. Her employment background includes 10-plus years of experience working in administrative duties, ranging from work in nonprofit to for-profit organizations. She has already proven to be a fast learner and take initiative on her work, so we are very excited to have her.
Thank you, Jolene.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard, Desiree. If you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
And there's that one.
Hello, my name is Desiree. I just thank the city for allowing me to come on and hopefully be an asset for everybody that I'm providing assistance for, and just glad to be here. Any questions? Anything?
Councilor Daniel.
Thank you, Mayor. Desiree, I just wanted to say welcome aboard. We're really glad to have you. I know Jolene and Heather for sure have spoken very highly of you, and I know you haven't been here very long, so thank you for all the work you're doing and being an asset to our city. I know you're going to be great.
Thank you, Christina.
Once again, thank you so very much, and welcome aboard, and we wish you much success.
Thanks, Ty.
You're welcome. Okay, the next item we have is consent calendar A. I'll have someone make a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve consent calendar A.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not, start voting. Ms. Holly?
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you so very much. The next item falls up under regular business, and we have presentations from outside agencies tonight. The first presentation is from is in regarding sponsorship requests for Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. Do we have anyone in the audience who's representing this group? Could you please come up to the podium? If you can introduce yourself and then let us know when you're ready to start your presentation.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council, for allowing us this time. My name is Cheryl Smith, and I work for Alamosa County Department of Human Services.
I'm Yvette Atencio, and I work for the county as well.
My name is Zenobia Davis, and I'm an ongoing caseworker for Alamosa County.
And we are here tonight on behalf of Alamosa County DHS in hopes that the City of Alamosa would partner with us in hosting our second annual Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Carnival. This year we are hosting the event on April 14th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Alamosa Rec Center. First of all, we are all very honored to be able to host this event for our community. We are providing this event for the whole San Luis Valley. It is a free event, which includes entertainment as well as a free meal for everyone that attends. We believe that by holding this event, it allows us to be able to reach out to the children and their families while being able to provide educational literature as well as a safe environment and a safe place for our children.
This year, we are also very fortunate to be able to bring the Salida Circus to our event. Very exciting. We will also be providing book bags that are filled with educational literature for the parents and children on prevention and awareness of child abuse, along with the same fun items for every child attending our event. Last year, we had over 600 children attend our event, and this year we are anticipating close to 800 children.
So you are probably asking yourselves how being a partner with Alamosa County DHS for this event will benefit our city. We believe that having the City of Alamosa as a partner this year will help provide awareness to the growing problem of child abuse and neglect in our communities. It also provides safe, fun, free entertainment and a meal to families in our community that would normally not have the opportunity for an event of this kind. It's a day in our families' lives that does not have to involve drug use, financial strain, or stress to have a fun day with their children. Again, this is an investment in our youth and our families.
And in front of you, we have given each of you a presentation folder. If you want to turn to page 3, on that page, we have the local reports of child abuse in 2017 for the state of Colorado. As you can see, the calls that were taken through our abuse hotline were 211,554 calls. In 2016, there were 206,107. So you can see that it has went up. In Alamosa alone, we took 545 calls. 269 of those were assessed, which means we had to go out on, which means that 49.4% were accepted of those calls that came through our abuse and neglect hotline. And then we have actually given you Caneas, Castillo, Rio Grande, and Saguache counties. As you can see, it is a growing issue. I'm sure we all are aware of the darkness that fills our valley of the opioid abuse and addiction that we have in our families and our communities. And we're not the only community that has that. In the state of Colorado, there are only 23 opioid addiction facilities right now that can take and help families. So as you know, trying to get our families into one of those 23 could take months to get a parent into that so that we can reunify them with their children and get their life back on track. If you want to turn to page 4, I gave you a quick look at our 2017 carnival, and I know those of you that were here last year on council remember me coming and presenting, and we were very proud to have our first one. And of course, it was little and small. You know, we started out, with a big dream, but we started out small. So we took in $500 last year in cash from contributors to go toward our $3,100 in expenses. Most of that expense of $3,100 was the backpack that we did give out to every child that attended. And in the backpack, we had such things as a coloring book, crayons, bubbles, just things that our community actually donated. Everything was donated for the entire carnival. If you want to turn to the next page, that's our proposed 2018 carnival budget. As you can see, the contributions year to date, we started earlier this year. I gave myself more than 3 weeks to go out and raise funds and for our community, and we've already taken in $1,845, which we are very thankful for. But as you can see, our estimated expenses are more. We've estimated to spend $9,500 this year. The majority of that, we have estimated $8,000 of that we would like to get a nicer bag for our
children. This is one that actually Colorado Sports has given us to show. It would have our child abuse logo on it. We were not real happy about handing out bags that had these, maybe a safety issue as such as strings on them last year, but it is what we could afford, and it did have our 10 reasons to stand against child abuse on the back, and it got our message out there, and I see these in the community still. So we would love to be able to do something nicer for the kiddos, to give them something that they can carry their books to school every day in, and we want to put literature in this that would educate our families and help our families and give them sources so that they can go and find help. Because a lot of times the problem is they just don't know who to ask. The rest of that estimated expense would be the carnival, the Salida Circus expense, and then the rental of the Alamosa County Rec Center. If you want to turn to the next page, I just gave you guys a quick synopsis of the booth sponsors that we had last year. So actually everyone on this list did a booth at our carnival, which I know the mayor attended, and it was a wonderful day for everyone. The following page is just a list of charitable contributors that gave money, time, door prizes. We gave out door prizes to the folks that were in attendance every 10 minutes. And so, as you can see from those two lists, we had a huge community support, and we're very proud of that. And then the following page is just as is on the screen, just the flyer that we're handing out to the community this year to advertise our circus and our carnival and to get awareness out there. We would love to be able to put the city logo on there and for it to become a city and county event, not just a county and Tucasa event. And then the last page, final page, is the letter that we're giving out to all of our sponsors, asking them to come on board in any way that they can, via a booth, door prizes, monetary contribution toward our backpacks. And that's our presentation.
Okay, thank you so very much. All right. We'll start off with Councilor Vigil, and then we'll go to Councilor Daniel, and then Councilor, were you going to be next? Okay, Councilor Brawls. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. A couple questions I had. You said you're going to have this event at the Alamosa Rec Center or Alamosa County Rec Center?
The Alamosa Rec Center.
Okay. And then how much are you asking for?
Right now, again, we've budgeted $8,000 for these little guys because we've estimated that they're going to cost us $10 a piece. So anything that we can get to go toward these backpacks and the important literature that we're going to put inside of them will be greatly appreciated.
I'd love the $8,000.
Thank you. Councilor Brawls?
Yeah, my question is, why do you think child abuse is going up? Like, what can we do to stop it and turn it so it's going down?
Well, I don't know if our director would like to speak to that.
Answer that question.
Catherine Salazar is here. If she would like to come up and speak to that, she has all the numbers and the statistics, and
they were doing such a good job. Good evening. My name is Catherine Salazar. I am the department director, and really I think with like every other community in the country, we're all experiencing the effects of the opioid epidemic. And I've been in the system now 29 years, and I can tell you the last 8 to 10 years has been the most difficult. And the deterioration of the family structure is greatly at risk at this point in time. And, you know, agencies such as ours on a daily basis see that deterioration up close and personal. And it's not an easy one to see on a daily basis. I think events such as the carnival can, we made this comment to Mayor Coleman, most of us take living in sobriety for granted. There's a lot of our community members that don't know what a day of sober living feels like. Most of us in this room probably know that feeling. but there's many families with children that don't know that kind of peace. To take advantage of an event where families come together to take advantage of just being together and learning to do activities together. In many of our families, they don't even eat together on a regular basis. So to sponsor an event like this just kind of gives everybody an opportunity to take a breath and really focus in on the family and about the kids. And, you know, we forget on a daily basis how much love and support our kids need, because they're not going to be children forever. They're going to be our age someday. And so we have to make that investment in the future. And events like this, how many events did we all go to as children? We went to the circus. We went camping as families. We had picnics. Those are memories that are ingrained in our minds in adulthood. So we're just trying to create good, happy memories for children, because there's a lot of chaos in a lot of families. And an event like this would just help families catch their breath. We have a lot of working parents that are working really hard as well, and they can't always afford to take a family of 4 or 5 to the circus. And a scaled-down version like this gives families an opportunity to have a free event. So that was probably the long version of that, but I hope you can appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Daniel?
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Thank you, guys. That was a wonderful presentation. You did a great job. I'm very excited. I know lots of people enjoyed the carnival last year, and I was also really pleased to see your statistics. I'm a little hopeful, though, and so I'm just going to throw this out there. I think the fact that more people are reporting is very good for our community. The fact that people are calling and saying, I'm worried about this child, I'm worried about these things, and you guys are screening them and going out on the ones that are necessary. So I am sad that there are so many referrals, but I'm also very, very thankful that we live in a community that cares enough to call, and that you guys care enough to respond and go out there and do the hard work with the families every single day. So thank you for that, and thank you for the presentation. Go ahead.
I'd like to make one last comment, probably also, because we're on the front lines and we're seeing this craziness at times. This is therapeutic not only for our staff. This is something extremely positive. You know, we're not in homes. We're not removing children at the wee hours of the morning. This is an opportunity for our community to see us in a very positive light. It's very therapeutic for us because we get to see the happy moments of people's lives in another setting. So it's a two-way street, and it's just a way of giving back to our community. So I didn't want you to leave without knowing that as well.
Absolutely right. Your team does great things with families, and I don't think that we talk about that enough. And this is one of those opportunities that you have for those families that you work with every day to also see you as people and to just have fun with you, which I think is wonderful. We do, and this is I think what Councilor Vigil was going to, we do have a budget for things like this for sponsorships. And so we'll need to discuss as a council what we think, but I am definitely in favor of using some of our sponsorship fund for this event. And I know Mr. Carson has his thing on, but when we're ready to have that conversation, I'm excited about it.
Thank you. Councilor Carson?
I just wanted to say thank you as well. You guys have a rough job. It's not pleasant. And my question was, last year, what was your attendance at the carnival, and what are you expecting this year? Do you have any ideas of that? And I was just going to reiterate again, did you guys have any idea as far as a number that you were looking at? I mean, I know it's already been asked, but probably give us a little bit more to go on as well.
Right, I'll answer that. We did I had folks using clickers at the door last year because I really wanted to get a great idea. And of course, we had Ty there announcing every time we'd hit another 100, that would come in. And we only kept track of the children, and we had 682 children. I do expect 800 children this year. I don't think we're far off of that mark. The other thing that this carnival is used for is a platform to get more foster homes. So we actually set up a booth. We have our foster care coordinators on staff to speak to families and to give them literature and knowledge about what it means to be a foster home. I currently do placements for our county. I have 2 kiddos today that I have to find a home for by tomorrow, by the end of the week. Our foster homes are full. We have children in Grand Junction. I have children in La Junta. I have children down in Arborles. That is another growing issue for our community, because as these families break apart and the family structure breaks apart more and more each day, we have to find a home if there's not family to take these kiddos in.
Just to give you an idea, only because I was looking at those stats today, we have 70 kids in out-of-home placement today from Alamosa County. And not all those 70 kids are in Alamosa County. We have to travel out of Alamosa County to place these kids. Pueblo, Colorado Springs, we've got kids out on the western slope, Montrose, Grand Junction. So, 70 kids in out-of-home placement is substantial. And our dream is to have enough foster homes in the San Luis Valley that if families do come apart and children need to be separated from their parents, that we would have the resource, the foster homes in the valley, so that we wouldn't have to travel 4 and 5, 6 hours out to place these kids in other foster homes outside of this valley. So it's a dual track for us, because we really, our emphasis right now is on recruitment of foster homes. And there is a huge need. I would implore you, if you know of anybody who is interested, please contact our office, because we are in dire need of more foster homes. It's a process, but anybody who cares about kids and can give some love and attention to kids, we would very much like to speak to them.
Thank you. Councilor Griegel.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, great presentation. I really enjoyed what you guys come up with. I had a couple of questions on your finance part of it. On these list of booth sponsors, do you charge for them to come in?
Absolutely not.
So
free for the sponsors, free for the attendees.
For that. And then also, of this 1,800 that you've collected, there's a list of charitable contributions. Is that part of that, or what?
The list of charitable contributions that you see are from the carnival last year.
Okay.
That was via time. Some of those folks just gave us time. Like the Upward Bound kids and the Gear Up kids, they were just there the whole day to donate their time. We had some folks that would donate door prizes. The 1,800 that you're looking at are actually cash donations that we have so far this year.
So like Alamosa Building Supplies and the list that it says contributors, they didn't give monies or nothing like that?
Not necessarily. For example, Alamosa Building Supply donated a beautiful cornhole game, beanbag toss game. For the county, and we use it at all of our county events now, picnics. Families get to benefit from that now at every county event. We used it at our foster parents picnic that we did this summer. But, everyone donated something different.
Yeah.
I did not break that down for you because the list was endless.
And that's why I was thinking, maybe some of these were cash donations, but I guess they were. So.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Hensley, and then we'll follow up with Councilor Carson.
Well, I also want to thank you for all you do, and I know it makes such a difference. I know 2 of the 682 were my grandkids that were there with my daughter, and I know they had a great time. I can't remember, I know I had something where I couldn't be there, but I remember them coming back and telling me what a great time they had, so that's awesome. My question is, you mentioned that part of your expenses this year is renting the rec center.
That is correct.
Right. So how much is the city charging you to rent the rec center?
So right now, they are charging us $210, but we went last week and toured the facility, and I would like to add another room to that rental so that we can have an actual room with tables and chairs so that our families can actually sit and eat together. Last year, we didn't have that. They had to go find a corner on the floor in the gym at Adams State to sit and have I would like to have a sit-down area for them, so they're going to add another $50 onto that, so $260 total.
So this year, this year you're doing it at the rec center?
We are.
And last year you did it at
At
Adams
Adams
State?
State, that is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think it's worth noting that I think the hospital donated the food last year. There was hamburgers and hot dogs for everybody there. And so that was a huge contribution to the event because they donated the food. I think Coca-Cola donated the soda.
And Pepsi.
Pepsi and Coke.
They
donated.
split it.
So there's a lot of in-kind donations that came that do have a monetary value.
Pepsi has already donated 40 cases of soda to me for this year. That's the nice thing about having such an event that had such a great turnout and a great support. Folks are calling us and saying, hey, can we give some of our products? Can we help? Can I donate time? You know, let me be there at the door to help greet the families. Let me help serve food. I mean, it's the community outpour for this has been wonderful.
I think one of our local dentists provided toothbrushes, toothpaste, and, coloring materials and things for the kids. So, it's not just balloons and candy and, what's more important than a toothbrush and toothpaste per kid? Anybody who has kids knows we run short of that stuff.
Thank you. Councilor Carson?
Thank you. I was just going to ask about the food budget, but you answered that, how you guys were going to feed everybody and if that was part of the money that you had to raise. But
I have approached the hospital again this year. I have not got a definite. I'm hoping to get a definite on that because they did a wonderful job. Valley Meats actually donated some of the meat. River of Life Church donated buns. Like I said, we just had a great outpouring for throwing an event together literally within 3 weeks' time last year. It was amazing.
And Council, fortunately, last year I had an opportunity to go and participate and see so many kids and families come to the event that was sponsored by this group. And I can tell you, it was really heartwarming and touching to see families actually doing things together because that is important. I believe Councilor Brawls was saying earlier something about how do we get maybe, and I'm paraphrasing this, how do we help with child abuse, and that's by basically promoting prevention just like this. And I think sponsoring in some kind of way an event like this will help the people in the community and as well as bring awareness to the issues that we're having like that throughout the San Luis Valley. And I can tell you at that carnival, they had so many activities for the kids to do, and it was a cold day, I remember, and there were so many people that came out. I was shocked to see so many people out there participating, and I think you and your team did a wonderful job of doing that. So I guess we'll let Councilor Vigil start. I know he's probably going to have some questions about the sponsorship part, so I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I think we all up here agree that this is a great event and we should help it in some way. Just a little bit of history for the new councilors. We have a budget line item of $10,000 that we can give out as a sponsorship money. Over the last few years, we've given money to the Alamosa Roundup, the rodeo. We've given money to the barbecue in August, I believe it is, that they have at Cole Park. I think we've given money to Alma as a sponsorship one year, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So I just want I want everybody to know in the public that if you have an event, if you are doing anything like this, you can always come up to us to ask for money to help out with your event. And I believe, and Mr. Grego can correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the goals of the sponsorship, especially for events like this, was like seed money, so that they get some money and over a couple of years they can do it on their own. I know this is not a thing to make money, but I would throw out a number. I'm thinking maybe 4,000. What do you think, Council?
We'll open it up for discussion. Go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Councilor Daniel.
So that is I wasn't thinking quite that high because our budget is only 10,000. I do think this is a very worthy event. I was thinking more like maybe 2 is where I was closer just because of the other events that might come up. And so but I do think it's well-deserved. So I would be comfortable if council is comfortable with that, but I would be comfortable with just a little bit of a lower number, I think, Councilor Vigil.
Councilor Carson?
I agree that we need to put a good chunk towards it, but I think we'll just hash it out. I won't say whether I think that's too high or not. I don't think $4,000 is too high, but I think we can talk about it as a group and we'll come up with a good number for you guys.
Okay. We're going to actually talk about it right now, everybody, so we're going to get it done today. So it's no problem. Yeah, we're going to do it today.
I think Greg's
Councilor Hensley?
I guess part of it, because we we try to help different organizations. I also think in the 2,000 range is good, but one of the things I would add to it, I would think that we could do is a sponsorship, and that we could in-kind the rec center. I mean, I think that's something that would be something we could add to that. I'm hoping not, and that wouldn't be too difficult.
Councilor Vigil?
Go ahead, Grego.
Oh, go ahead.
I kind of agree also, because those funds are out there for a lot of people to come through. So for us to take a big chunk out of it and give it away, and it is a good cause and stuff. And I don't know, Eric, is it, when we start giving out stuff as far as sponsorships, like the rec center, are we in line, or how does that work? Because I don't want to get in trouble either, so.
Yes, you're fine with that. Typically, the funds that you do out of the sponsorship budget, we don't handle the same way we do with respect to other kinds of grants where we require a contract for service that explicitly spells out the benefit that the city is getting. So we wouldn't put that together, but there's no issue with doing sponsorship funds and with doing an in-kind on the rec center. I saw Andy nodding his head back there.
Andy, were you nodding your head up and down like that, or like? So, okay, up and down, okay. We just want to make sure we want to be mindful of what we can and cannot do, okay?
So I would agree with the young ladies here, and maybe a $2,000 sponsorship.
Councilor Brawls?
What did we give last year?
We didn't give anything to this group last year.
But we never asked.
Yeah, never asked.
Well, a couple of comments. I think you ought to go to more banks than just one. Have you gone to the marketing district and asked for money?
No.
Do you plan to?
Yes.
Councilor Carson and then Councilor Hensley.
I say we just for the sake of making it interesting, we round up to 3, including the in-kind donation. I mean, give them the $2,750 and then add the in-kind of the rec center, if that's,
Capping it off at 3,000.
Consensus on that.
Okay. Councilor Vigil and then Councilor Hensley.
I think that's a good idea, Mr. Carson, just to get the ball rolling here at $3,000. And because the way I see it is, who historically has come up to ask us for money? The Roundup, maybe the barbecue. I know there's another group that might come up. They talked about it during, what's that budget line item where we give all the nonprofits. There was a group that we talked about that might want to come up and talk about a sponsorship with that. So there are my thoughts.
Thank you, Councilor Hensley.
So in regards to the marketing board, have you put in your grant request already?
No, we have not.
Because I think the due date,
Yeah.
So you're familiar with it?
I think the due date is coming up on us quickly.
Yeah, I'm on the marketing board, and so I know we have our interviews with everybody in March, and so I know it's somewhere right around here. So that's a great opportunity as well, and I think that also be a great resource.
Councilor Daniel.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought for a second, but I'm comfortable with 3,000. I was going to talk about the barbecue and beat the heat and things like that. So typically they have been coming and asking us for less money as well. And so I think that it meets the needs of what Councilor Griego and Councilor Vigil talked about earlier. I would be comfortable with 3,000, except upping you, Councilor Carson, to say plus the sponsorship of the rec center. So 3,260 or whatever.
Okay. All right, we're going in a bidding war right now. Okay.
Is this,
Councilor Brawl?
is this like first come, first serve? What do we do when people
Yes.
come in October, want money, and we're out of?
If we're out of funds, we're out of funds, yes.
So it is first come, first serve?
Yes. Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
All right. You know, I'm going to have to agree with Councilor Daniel on this one right here because she upped it. And the reason for it is because I had an opportunity, like I mentioned earlier, to see what they actually did last year, and I saw how many kids had that day of hope. Sometimes these kids don't have any hope or anything to look forward to. They don't experience any joy. And if we can do anything as a council to help provide just one day of joy to a child, that means more than all the money in the world to them. So I believe that we could probably come to a consensus of, do we need a motion, or can we just do we need to vote on this?
I think Chief Oaks had something to say.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're going to
Chief.
need a motion, but the chief had some
go ahead,
information,
Chief,
I think,
sorry.
in response to Councilor Vigil's question.
So we talked with Judy, and last year, the Alamosa Roundup, you gave money to. Also, the Brewfest and the Farmers Market, the barbecue did not request money last year. So that's what you, as a council, provided funds to last year out of this budget line item.
Okay, thank you so much, Chief. Okay, Councilor Vigil, I believe you were up.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we sponsor $3,000 to the Kids Carnival, as well as in-kind the rec center.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, start voting, everyone. Holly?
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, and thank you so very much for the presentation.
Remember, it takes a village to raise kids, so.
That's true.
You just did your part.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would like to just add to that, if council, if you have a available time in your schedule on that 14th of April, I encourage council to just, if you can, stop by and just see all the activities that are out there. I think you'll be very impressed. All right, good deal.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all, too.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, the next ceremonial item is the SLV Harm Reduction Program update. Yes, all right. Thank you.
All right, good evening. It's already been a long evening, so I'll be as brief as I can. I'm Charlotte Ladoni. I'm with the Area Health Education Center. I'm the nurse coordinator there, and thank you for inviting me back. I was here almost a year ago, along with Della Vieta from the Public Health Department here in Alamosa, and we were talking about a harm reduction program. We received approval from the Alamosa Board of Health last May. We've moved forward. Things take a while, but I'm happy to report that in January we got 800 pounds of supplies with which to start our harm reduction program. I want to take just a few minutes, one, to thank our partners, and without our partners, we certainly couldn't do this. Valley-wide Health Systems is going to be working with us to provide some of the services. SLV Behavioral Health is also working with us to provide some of the services, so it is certainly not an SLV AHEC project in and of itself. The information that I'm passing around is to give you a general idea of what services will be provided. We applied for a grant and did not receive it, so at this point, we're moving ahead. We don't have any of our staff time paid for, so all of the agencies that are working with us, including the SLV HEC, is doing this because it's a need in the community. What we did get donated is 800-plus pounds of supplies that we're going to need. The facility that we're going to be housed at also donated their space to us. We are not paying rent because we have no budget to do that. So I want you to know this really is a community effort, and the people that are invested with us are doing so because they see that need. So I want to just briefly go over our partners here and what we'll be offering as part of the Harm Reduction Program. And if you're interested, I have more information I can send you on the evidence-based practice of a harm reduction program. This isn't a new concept. New Mexico has had harm reduction programs in their counties for the last 20 years, so I'm excited to say we are finally offering it here in the San Luis Valley. And it's housed in Alamosa, but right now we're going to be serving all of the valley communities. So starting at the top, we will be referring people that come in, if they're so interested, to receive substance abuse treatment, including medication-assisted treatment. And again, all of these services are voluntary. We're not coercing anyone into doing something they do not want to do. That's not our purpose. Valley-wide health systems will be providing hepatitis C and HIV testing and linkage to care for treatment. We will also be handing out condoms and other supplies that people need to stay safer in our community, because it's not just the people who use substances that are affected, it's the people around them that can get infected and affected as well. The other thing we will be passing out to the clients in our program is naloxone or nasal Narcan, which helps reverse overdoses. So people that come in will be getting training on how that works and how to use it. The other piece of that is referring to mental health or behavioral health services. Should people be inclined to want to take a look at what they're doing and how they can change behavior. We will also be giving out sharps containers. So we're encouraging people, when they pick up needles, to return needles and not leave them out in the streets, throw them in the trash, whatever. So they will be getting individual containers that they collect and bring back to us, and through the Public Health Department, we will be safely disposing those sharps. And then finally, we will be giving free needles and other related supplies that go with that, and expecting people to return needles. So that is briefly my presentation. We're going to start Wednesday, February 21st. It is not an open house. We don't want community to come and see what's going on because we want to keep our clients confidential. So we're not advertising it as an open house, but we are advertising for people to come in and start using our services. We will be open every Wednesday from 9 to noon at 2311 Commerce Circle out by the Industrial Park, every Wednesday starting February 21st. I always say if Christmas is on a Wednesday, we'll have to figure that out, but otherwise we'll be open. Any questions?
Thank you so very much. We have a question from Councilor Daniel.
Thank you, Mayor. Charlotte, first of all, thank you. I remember your presentation coming. I remember these community conversations, and so I'm so excited to see this getting off the ground. It is a much-needed project in our community, and it makes me a little emotional thinking that people are going to get some of this help that they need, and that we're not judging the people who are coming to get the services, and so I just appreciate that a lot. There are a couple of things. One, I want to say I think SLV AHEC has the best acronyms for all of their projects that you ever see. You guys come up with names that people can remember. So thank you for that and bringing partners together. I am wondering where we can get flyers that we can put up for maybe the people that we serve or anything like that, so that way they can have access to this service without us necessarily pushing it per se. So do you have extra flyers we could have?
So we do have flyers. We have smaller kind of pocket-sized flyers that we've gotten out to some of the different stores on the south side. La Puente, I can get you some of those. We also have one-page flyers that we're going to be hanging up in different places. We're also sending them out to other communities to let people in the other counties know that this is going to be available, so it's not just an Alamosa program. So I can email those to you.
That would be great, Charlotte. And then the other question, when we had talked last year, we talked a little bit about potentially traveling to those other communities. Is that on hold because there's no funding?
So we looked into a van, a kind of a traveling van, and New Mexico does that, but that's awfully expensive to keep up. So we're starting in Alamosa. We've already had some discussion with some of the other counties that have expressed an interest, and as typical in the valley, everyone's looking to see what Alamosa's doing, to see how Alamosa's going to do it. But we are already thinking forward, hopefully within the next year, having their boards of health take a look at that, and then looking at reaching out to some of the other counties.
Okay. If there was a possibility for a van to be donated, this is not a city question, I'm not asking for the city, if there was a possibility for a van to be donated, would that be something this group would look at?
I think that's something we would have to look at, because one was the cost and upkeep.
Right.
The other one was safety, security.
Okay.
And so there were a number of reasons we ended up not looking at a van.
Awesome. Just wanted to check, yeah.
Thank you. Councilor Vigil?
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Want to echo what Ms. Daniels had to say. Thank you, Charlotte, for getting this program going. We all talk about what we can do to fight this opioid epidemic and stuff like this. Is a small component, but a very important component of how we can get this done. And it's a little bit like shocking for some people where you can get free sterile needles and this and that, but that's where we're going, and we just all need to accept that and move forward with it. It's happening all across our country. It's been going on in Europe for decades, and this is the way it's going. So, again, thank you for what you're doing.
Councilor Daniel?
Sorry, just to piggyback on that, what Councilor Beal didn't say, and I also meant to say, was this does not increase illegal drug use. This type of program does not increase people using it, doesn't start people using. It just makes sure the people who are using safer and giving them more resources. So thank you for that.
And Ms. Ladoni, I've seen you all around the community lately doing a lot of work, and I really greatly appreciate that and everything that you're doing in our community. More importantly, thank you for working to help reduce the HIV and Hep C risk that we face in our community. Appreciate it. All righty. Thank you.
I want to thank City Council, because this came to, the very same issue came to a vote in Colorado Springs, and they turned it down. So I like to think that we're more progressive than some of the larger cities, and we're actually the first rural community in Colorado to do this. So I am excited. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Have a good night. Okay, Council. Up next, we have business brought forward by the city staff. The first item is under Public Works. Resolution number 6-2018, adopting the 3-mile annexation plan for the city of Alamosa.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
State law requires that municipalities adopt a plan for their annexations called a 3-mile plan, and the state law provides an area of up to 3 miles for examination, but Alamosa, just for the size of our community, 1 mile seems to work better. So we've prepared a 1-mile plan for our annexations. The 3-mile plan must also be adopted by each community each year. For whatever reason, we haven't updated our 3-mile plan since 2012. So we're just coming up to speed, doing a little housekeeping. We've got some annexations that are pending that we don't want to delay any further. So This is a housekeeping item. The Planning Commission has reviewed the 3 Mile Plan on November 24th, and they forwarded a recommendation of approval to the City Council. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you. Council. Councilor Daniel.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
We talked about this in our work session last week. It
Yes.
seems- Okay. We talked about this, and some days just all run together. So we talked about this in our work session last week. Have there been any changes since that work session? Like significant changes, not just
No.
wordsmithing? Okay.
Okay, Council.
One comment, if I may, Mayor.
Yes, please, Councilor.
In reading
Rego.
the resolution, there's 7 areas, and Dan, you kind of touched on it, that we probably have to look at for annexation. And just a comment, I hope that we look at those areas and correct them as soon as possible, because I know years back, we did a lot of them. There's a lot of spots all throughout the city that were county spots, and we mostly got a bunch of them, and then all of a sudden we kind of stopped. So I hope that we continue on. And I know you addressed 7 different areas.
That is part of the annexation, or the 3 Mile Plan. It just adopts by reference that we will always consider infill sites within the community. And at some point, we need to prepare a plan to start actively pursuing annexing those little islands of county because of the jurisdiction problems it creates of having overlap of services between, like, our police department and the county sheriff's department and those kinds of things. So,
yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Rejo.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we approve Resolution Number 6-2018, adopting the 3 Mile Annexation Plan for the City of Alamosa.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, start voting, please. Okay, Ms. Holly?
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. The next item we have is the additional cost for the WWTP ultraviolet unit. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, council members, back in June of 2017, you approved $200,000 for the upgrade of the UV unit at the wastewater treatment plant. And there have been some additional costs that are associated with that upgrade, and they come in three chunks. So I'll explain those 3 different items that led to the increase. One is there are 2 methodologies to calculate how much luminescence or light intensity that needs to be in the water stream that we're treating with the UV unit. And Trojan, the vendor, calculated it one way, but neglected to calculate it the other way, which is the total flow was what they neglected to calculate. That led to an undersizing of the unit, and so the unit had to be upsized, and the cost of upsizing the unit was $15,000, but Trojan, recognizing their mistake, cut that back to a $7,000 increase. And I wish to point out that whenever we would have just calculated that cost would have been baked into the system. So it's not an error that is attributable to the engineering. It's just one of those things that somebody made a mistake on not calculating it twice. So that's $7,000 increase from the $200,000. Second item is the engineering design by TZA Engineering, and that's the overall design of the system, not the sizing that Trojan did, and also the retrofitting of the system into the wastewater treatment plant, and that cost is $23,500. And then we have a firm number, a better estimated number on the cost of the installation of the system into the wastewater treatment plant at $50,000. So that totals up to an increase of $69,800. And I'll just leave it as, have you got any questions of me?
Okay, Counselor Vihil, and then Counselor Daniel, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Oh, okay, Counselor Daniel, then Counselor Griego.
Okay, thank you. Mark, thank you for the explanation, and I was really excited to see that Trojan cut their costs because of the miscalculation, so thank you for, I'm sure, pursuing that. Can you talk a little bit about the fiscal changes that would need to happen where this 69.8 would come from?
The financial?
The financials, yes.
Yeah. It will come out of the enterprise fund, and meeting with Judy, there are funds available for this effort in the enterprise fund. So.
And my understanding is because of the water tax that we have, that it gets moved to be able to pay for some water projects, and so that's where some of that money into the enterprise fund came from. Is that right?
Correct. I think it's not just the water, it's the water service and the wastewater service, and also the solid waste is increasing. So the fund in all three categories, there are funds available, but this would be covered under the wastewater.
Okay, thank you very much.
Counselor Griego.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to ask kind of the same question, but in that June memo that we approved, that 200,000 mark, there's an area that says 200,000 and it's going to leave 20,000. Is that something that's going to be towards the 68,000 or?
The remaining 20,000, 7,000 of that was consumed in the error on the sizing of the system, so that leaves 13,000.
Okay.
And then when you add the 23.5 for the engineering, which wasn't covered in that 200,000 at all, then we're already negative. And now I need to, that 200,000 under budgeted the installation of the system and the physical putting it into the plant, which is now estimated at 50,000.
Thank you, Mark.
Counselor Brawls.
Yeah, my question is a little bit, do we have a choice? I mean, what if we said no?
Not really. We've already had one out of compliance with the bacteria, the coliform, back in November. And our treatment plant operators are diligently cleaning and scrubbing the current UV system to maximize its efficiency. It's very labor intensive, and we can't continue like this very long before we're going to have a whole series of violations.
Okay. Counselor Carson.
Being that we have no choice, we're probably going to have to move forward with approving it if we have no choice. But my primary question is, wasn't the installation factored into the original amount? And if we approved that, why wasn't that considered?
It was, but it was underestimated by a factor of like 4. So, and I wasn't here then. I don't want to really duck things, but I don't know why it was underestimated like that. But probably because we didn't have solid numbers on what the installation was going to cost. We went out, we had TZA Engineering go out and actually get quotes from a couple of different contractors of what this would cost. So I think this is a real budget figure now. I don't want to come back to you with this again, so I'm pretty sure this will do it.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, thank you.
So then I move that we authorize an additional $69,800 for the project to cover items detailed below for a total project budget of $269,800.
I'll second that, Mayor.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, if we can start voting, please. Okay, Ms. Holly.
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. The next item is on the agenda, falls up under Finance. The second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 3-2018, amending in part the city's pay plan. Ordinance number 32-2017, adding a GIS analyst position to grade 11 pay grade.
Good evening, council.
Thank you.
This was just a housekeeping issue, was the pay grade that was just omitted on the first ordinance, and this is just to add it back in to the, so that it agrees with the original ordinances. Plus, we did hire a person for that position, so it's pretty important that we get it approved.
Okay, council. Oh, we're doing a public hearing. Let me double check. I was reading. Okay, we'll open it up now for a public hearing. Is anyone in the audience, if anyone in the audience have any comments in regards to this, please come up to the podium. Okay, I don't see anyone in the audience coming up, so we'll go ahead and end the public hearing and then open it up for council comments.
Mayor?
Yes.
I move that we approve ordinance number 3-2018, amending in part the city's pay plan ordinance number 32, 2017, adding a GIS analyst position to the grade 11 pay grade.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, start voting, please. Okay, Ms. Holly?
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. Up next, we have Parks and Recreation. The second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 2-2018, an ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Alamosa Rio Coalition to apportion responsibilities with respect to a GOCO-inspired grant. Andy?
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Thank you, sir.
So this ordinance in front of you, we're just formalizing our partner responsibilities for the Inspire grant. Because ASU and the city are governmental entities, it involves an IGA and a city ordinance. Quick refresher, this is the 800,000 plus among 5 community entities to get kids outside. For the city, it's an outdoor rec specialist, more trails, expanded weekends on the Rio programming. So I'll keep it brief, but if you looked at your attachments, and it included the 284-page application, so there's a lot in there. But we're excited to get this work underway.
Thank you, Andy. Okay, council? Okay, I'll open it up for a public hearing. Does anyone in the audience have any comments? Okay, if so, come to the podium. Doesn't look like we have anyone in the audience who wants to come to the podium, so we'll go ahead and end the public hearing and open it up for council.
Mayor, I move that we approve on second reading the ordinance authorizing the mayor to sign the IGA for the GOCO grant between Alamosa Rio Coalition Partners for the Alamosa Rio Inspire project.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, start voting. Ms. Holly?
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. And thank you, Andy, and your entire team and everyone who helped you out with this. This was really huge. Really appreciate it. And also thanks to all of your team who worked on the grand opening last week. We had a wonderful turnout. It was really impressive. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, up next, we have City Manager Legal. First reading of ordinance number 4-2018, an ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Colorado Department of Human Services, CDHS, the Office of Behavioral Health, and the City of Alamosa for the Law Enforcement Assistant Diversion Lead Pilot Program.
Mayor,
Chief.
The City of Alamosa and many partners have received a notification of award of grant for the LEAD program. We've had many discussions about the program. Actually, Council is the one who brought the LEAD program back for, I would say, consideration if it would work in our area. So this IGA will allow us to move forward as a pilot site, which there were 4 awarded across the state. The LEAD program is the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program that we've talked about and allows us to move forward with this program.
Thank you very much, Chief. Okay, open it up for council.
Mayor?
Yes.
I had a question for Chief.
Sure.
I'm looking at, thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
I'm looking at the contract, the proposed contract, and it has funding through 2020. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's a 3-year award. The first year was supposed to be, I believe, October 1st through June 30th of this year. Because of, I think, some state, I would say, snags, they've condensed our first year from April 1st to June 30th. But it is a 3-year award.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, Councilor Broll.
Yeah, the question I have is, this allows you to route individuals to case managers rather than to the justice system. Do you have case managers locally, or who are they?
So the plan and the grant that we've written, CRP is a partner, one of our partners within the grant. They will have case managers that will work with the clients that we send to them and divert them to other partners for the services that are needed.
Locally, or do you have to send them out?
They are local, yes.
Okay, council.
If there are no other questions, this is a very exciting thing for our community. If there are no other questions, I move that we approve on first reading ordinance number 4-2018, approving an intergovernmental agreement with CDHS and the Office of Behavioral Health for the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Pilot Program, and set the matter for public hearing on Wednesday, February 21st, 2018 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may be heard.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Councilor Vigil?
Yeah, I just want to add my 2 cents too. This is a huge deal.
Yeah.
We should have like a party for this. This is huge. Seriously. And just thank you to Chief and all those who helped work on this. This is going to really help combat the opioid crisis that we have in our valley. And the public needs to know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Vigil. I also would like to just make a brief comment. I was fortunate earlier today to go to the CRP dinner where I saw Chief Oates, I saw Holly, I believe Susanna, and Officer Hatley. Thank you all so much for representing our city well. Thank you so very much for explaining the LEAD program to the Alamosa community as well as people throughout the San Luis Valley. I tell you, I was so proud of the way that you all presented the things that we are doing in our community to try to make a positive difference. Really appreciate it. Okay, council, if we could start voting. Okay, Holly?
The motion carried unanimously.
All righty. Okay. Up next, we have the second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 1-2018, an ordinance amending sections 1-17, 1-18, 2-38D1, 3-10, 4-178, 11-121A, 11-171F, 13-28, 13-54, 13-57, and 14-23D of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Alamosa concerning penalties for ordinance violations. Ooh, it seemed like bingo or something. Okay, Eric?
Thank you, Mayor. I counted while you were reading them. That's 11. The reason there are so many sections of our Code of Ordinances that are addressed by this ordinance change is that following first reading and in discussions where the prosecutor, Gene Farish, weighed in on his concern about the nomenclature of criminal versus civil in there, and the chief is on board with this as well, that what we really have are offenses. They're not criminal offenses or civil offenses per se. They're municipal ordinance violations. And so what we did was go through the entire code, which has historically referenced civil and criminal and used language like that, and just removed that. And whenever it used to say criminal, it now says jailable. In inappropriate places, it says non-jailable, or offenses will specify that they are jailable or non-jailable. And as you know, from the work sessions that we've had and the first reading discussions that we've had, the major thrust of this ordinance is to make most of the ordinance violations under the city's code non-jailable offenses. So that there won't be a possibility of jail for any ordinance violation except for a specific set number of those. And let me put up on the screen, there were 16 ordinance violations originally proposed in the first reading version of this ordinance. And at first reading, comments from council made clear we should add 2, so now there are 18. The poisoning of animal, Section 3-72, and speed contest in the model traffic code were added as violations that carry potential jail time. And just to refresh, everything carries potential jail time if it's your third offense within 2 years for that. And then also, we've talked about all of this before, there's the on-ramp and off-ramp feature for a prosecutor to request that in any given instance, a matter be considered as a jailable offense. So that's it in a nutshell, unless you have further questions.
If not, do we open it up for a public hearing right now?
Correct.
Okay.
Can I make a comment before you open the public hearing, Mayor?
Sure, please.
On your attachment descriptions, there was one there where the ACLU made comments, and reading all this stuff, this is a lot of stuff to read. Were we able to address some of that stuff? There was 2 comments that they made. First, they were real appreciative that the fact that we were communicating with them, that we were doing something about their concerns. And then there was 2 areas there that they kind of talked about, and they did kind of disagreed, or they wanted to add more than what was under.
Well, so we did address some of those issues, and I have not addressed, or I should say I chose not to address the way they wanted to address other issues. One of their comments was they did not like the on-ramp. They liked the off-ramp, but they didn't like the on-ramp. And I did not make a change to the proposed ordinance to eliminate the on-ramp. I think that that's an appropriate function for the city prosecutor to have. They wanted, one of the ones that I did change was they wanted more inclusive language in Section 13-54 with respect to how the court is supposed to treat requirements for issuing warrants and holding people on warrants for failure to appear and/or what to do when they don't comply. And so I did make those changes that they requested. I thought those were good changes.
I think there was only a couple, Eric.
Yeah, they also wanted something to make clear that there was no possibility that anybody could be arrested at any time relating to a civil offense whatsoever. And I don't think that's true under the current state of Colorado law, so I didn't put that in either. But another thing to bear in mind, and this comment was made, by you guys in your earlier work sessions, this is a work in progress. So for instance, if we, oops, this isn't what I want. If we want to add to the list of ordinances that are considered jailable offenses on a first violation, we can do that. If we want to pull some out, we can do that. This is not set in stone. This is something we're going to keep revisiting, and I'll just highlight for you in particular one of the comments that came out of the discussions with the ACLU that I really like, but that I don't believe we're ready to consider right now with this ordinance, is considering developing a fine schedule for a much broader range of offenses. We have fine schedules essentially for all of our traffic offenses, but there's no reason we couldn't do fine schedules for a much broader range of offenses, and then we can simplify the whole court process considerably, because it'll be treated like a traffic violation is treated. You come to the clerk's counter and you pay your fine and you're done. So that will be, I think, coming before you in the future as staff gets time to think through what its recommendations would be for that kind of a fine schedule.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Councilor Daniel.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
My questions, Councilor Grego asked several of them that I was wondering about, and I agree that Section D should probably not be removed, the on-ramp, but do you share any of their concerns they related about due process, or because we're going to have them not, like they'll have the chance to get their attorney and things like that, that we feel that that's appropriate due process?
Yeah, I don't share their concern. Their due process concern was essentially, hey, an offender ought to know exactly what he's facing so that he can weigh whether he's going to offend or not. And that's not what due process is. Due process is getting your day in court for whether or not you actually did offend.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask that. I appreciate it.
Okay, at this time, I'll open it up for public hearing. If we have anyone in the audience who would like to voice their concerns, please come up to the podium. Okay. At this time, I'm going to close the public hearing because no one is making motion this way, so we'll close it. All right, council.
Mayor, I move that we approve upon second reading ordinance number 1-2018, an ordinance amending sections 1-17, 1-18, 2-38D1, 3-10, 4-178, 11-121A, 11-171F, 13-28, 13-54, 13-57, and 14-23D of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Alamosa concerning penalties for ordinance violations.
Wow, you outdid me.
I would have jumped in if it were after 9 o'clock, but since it's not yet after 9 o'clock,
Okay, good job.
it's sufficient just to say ordinance number 1-2018.
All right, good job. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, let's start voting. Okay, Holly.
The motion carried unanimously.
All right. Okay, up next, we have committee reports. Does anyone have any committee reports? Okay. No committee reports. Oh, Councilor Grego?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Where did you want to go?
Councilor Daniel.
So I ran into Marilyn Lozier today, and she is on the tree board, and she said there was no one who was able to make her meeting today, and I was on the tree board before I was off council and then on. Was anybody scheduled to go to tree board?
Okay.
Because I can go back if that's what
It
we
might have
want.
been me, I don't know. There's a list. Was it me?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you can
thank
go to it if you like.
Okay, and then we'll just talk
Yeah.
about it.
Good.
Councilor Grego?
I had an opportunity to...
I didn't hear, was there a change in tree board representative that just happened, sotto voce there?
No, I think they're going to try to clarify and see who's supposed to actually go.
Try to clarify who sits on there, and then we'll
think
make
they-
arrangements from there, Counselor.
Is that okay?
I had an opportunity to
I don't
go
think
to
they switch positions or anything. I think that was your concern.
Oh, you
Okay.
can't?
No, go ahead.
Can I go? Go ahead.
Yes.
I had an opportunity to go to the golf course board meeting, also with Andy. And they had an election of officers. Joel's the president now, Eddie Valdez is vice president, Tom is the treasurer, and Kale's the secretary. They, in all their discussions, they weren't able to lease out the restaurant. Apparently what they're going to do with the restaurant is they're going to try to operate it themselves, sell hot dogs, just to fulfill the commitment of the liquor license itself. And it's still open, so if somebody somebody wants to go out and lease it, they still have an opportunity to visit with the board and so forth. They put out a list of the different tournaments that are coming out this year, and I got a list of whoever wants to, I'll put it in the reading file and stuff. But all in all, it seems like they're getting together, and they still have some problems. We're supposed to get a full financial disclosure, Andy?
They were supposed to submit a budget by the end of January.
Okay, and I don't know if they did that or not, but that's something that's going to be coming to council. So thank you, Liz, for letting me go down. It's pretty interesting. So that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Griego. Councilor Vigil?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to let everybody know that I was put on a board 2 years ago for the county with their new buildings that they're having out there. The veterans want to put a veteran memorial statue or park or something, and we had like maybe 2 meetings, and it just kind of went to the wayside because they were still building it. They didn't know what to do. They needed funding, stuff like that. Well, they're starting up again, and they're meeting during the day, and I can't make it. And back then, 2 years ago, we talked that Mr. Griego would be my backup. So I'm just going to give it to you, Mr. Griego, because I can't make the meetings. And they're meeting tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock.
You already talked to him? Thank you so much. Thank you, Councilor Griego, for doing that. Thank you, Councilor Vigil. Councilor Hensley?
So I do want to thank Councilor Griego for going to the golf board. It allowed me so I could go to the CML meeting that we had. So we did have a meeting and discussed quite a few things that are going to go to legislature and things like that. Nothing, obviously, it's the very beginning part of legislature, so nothing major at this point, but just discussions of things that can happen. Obviously, I think a lot of us have the chance and possibly are going on February, I think it's 15th, for a meeting. I was very honored, though. I was chosen to be the new secretary/treasurer of the CML board.
Congratulations, Councilor Hensley. We thank you for representing our city, and we know you're going to do a wonderful job for not only representing Alamosa, but also the entire San Luis Valley. We really appreciate it.
I guess I want to add one exciting thing to it is the way this works is then the following year you're moved up to vice president and then the following year president. But the year that you're vice president, what's nice is everybody, the CML retreat is in the city of whoever the vice president is. So not this summer, but next summer we'll be hosting the CML retreat, which I think will be awesome for us all to really show off our city. So I'm excited about that too.
Thank you so very much. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Next, we have staff announcements.
Mayor, I just, for the temporary committee assignments on the tree board, it's supposed to be Councilor Griego.
Okay, so it's Councilor Griego. Okay, thank you so much for clarifying that, Holly. Really appreciate it. Okay, staff announcement, Chief?
I don't believe we have any tonight unless Eric has something.
I do.
Okay, Eric?
Just very briefly, the city is putting, or has put out an RFP for a downtown design firm to come in and help us take a look at downtown. We want to put together a committee of interested stakeholders who can advise about selection of that firm, and then during the course of their work have input into how that goes forward. I think Heather emailed you. We're looking for 2 council members to be on that committee and probably figure that out tonight if we can and put that together.
Okay, I'll let these two, looks like Councilor Griego and Councilor Daniel, go go ahead and,
I'd like to sit on there because the area sits in my ward, and if the possibility, I'd like to be able to sit on that committee.
Councilor Daniel?
Well, and kind of as mentioned earlier with my transition, I'm not currently serving on any committees in this role, and so I would really like, and I will be after the retreat, hopefully, but I would like to maybe participate, and these short-term committees actually work really well with my work schedule as well.
Okay, good. Okay, Councilor Vigil, you had your light on? Okay.
Oh, you can do it if you want.
Okay. Well, okay, and I'll be glad to serve as an alternate or something if you need it down the road or what have you.
I would also like to serve as an alternate. And then a question I had, Eric, is are we going to include just businesses in our new downtown district, or can we include people who are kind of on the border or right around the downtown area?
Do you mean on this committee, or do you mean, is the design going to be looking? Yes, so the stakeholders are drawn from broader than just people who are in the downtown. I don't have Heather's thoughts on that, but I know she was looking at some of the people on the art committee and some of the people on the economic development committee, and so I don't know where all that was coming from. But it's not just people in the downtown area.
Okay, Mark?
And the scope of the services is a defined area. So the whoever is awarded the contract would not bleed beyond the defined area in the RFP.
Did that answer your question?
It did. I'm a little bit confused. I thought in our comprehensive plan, we had a plan for downtown. Why are we?
I think, Councilor Vigil, one of the things that we've talked about since the creation of the comprehensive plan was that we didn't have enough development ideas for the specific downtown because of the parking issues that are down there and some other things that we were talking about for that business development, as well as the scenic and aesthetic pieces of that. And so when we had talked about adding this, it would be an addition to our comprehensive plan.
How much do we have budgeted for this?
This is a grant, and the grant amount, I believe, was $50,000.
Thank you.
Was it 100? My apologies, it's $100,000.
Okay.
That's the grant amount, and that's the amount that is budgeted for the effort.
Okay, Councilor Carson?
What's the city's match on the grant?
Zero. It's a $100,000 grant.
Okay. All righty. Okay, last item is, if we don't have any further staff announcements, do we? No? Okay, the last item is council comments. Okay, I don't know who was first.
Charlie was first.
Okay, go ahead, Councilor Carson, then Councilor Vigil, then Councilor Griego.
Eric, I just wanted to ask you a timeline on the possible, maybe like a possible first reading, or even just an idea of when that ordinance, the addition to the ordinance that we passed tonight would come, where we talked about the different fee schedule, because I think that's a pretty good idea.
I don't have a schedule in mind. I do like the idea a lot, so I'm not going to let it fall through the cracks, but I wouldn't imagine we're looking at a first reading until probably April or May. Your March is full already.
Oh, okay, so it's coming up in the next 6 months? Or?
Oh, yeah, it would be within the next 6 months, I believe. Uh-huh.
Oh, good, all right. I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Vigil, then Councilor Griego. Okay, you guys got to leave your lights on so we can keep order, okay? So, Councilor Griego, and then...
Okay, I'll go real fast, Mayor. Just a comment, and Liz kind of mentioned it, that we're having that CML legislative deal next week. I was wondering who's going and who's able to get to it. No. So.
Councilor Hensley will be there. I won't be able to make it to that one.
I was going to myself, so.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're going to. Councilor Brawls? You later.
No, I just want to make a comment with regard to the RV park and the ranch property out there. I do greatly appreciate all the comments that have been made, emails forwarded on to us. I think those are good. It shows the interest of the people in Alamosa. And, I really think that we can make this a win-win situation. And, again, I just throw the thought out there that we don't, when the property's appraised, we don't have to take the appraised value. We can charge whatever we want. And I would not be shy in charging enough to maybe take some of that money and develop the ranch out there. And I agree with the long-term plan. We kind of need to come with a long-term plan. And I like the conservation easements. That'll give us some more money to develop the ranch. But I really do think in the long term of things, some pieces of the ranch will have to be sold to give us seed money to develop other parts of the ranch. And I think we can do that in a win-win situation where the people of Alamosa win, and as well as whatever development comes across can win too. So I just want to express that thought.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Vigil, then Councilor Daniel.
Thank you, Mayor. I got three things. Number one, since January 1st, the state of Colorado has lost 3 police officers. And I just want to thank you, Chief, and to our cops for all that you do, for putting your lives on the line every day. You do a fantastic job, and I just want to, send a shout out and a prayer to all those families who've been infected in Colorado Springs and Castle Rock and the Denver metro area. The second thing is I've gotten a lot of phone calls and rave reviews on the ice rink. I went to check it out when I couldn't make it to the ribbon cutting. But Andy was there like at 9 o'clock at night, just checking on things, making sure things were looking cool. One thing I did notice I thought was awesome is that when you're playing, and you can play and shoot a hockey puck or do whatever you want and look at Mount Blanca at the same time. I think that's pretty neat. And the third thing is, going back to what Mr. Boyles had talked about with the RV park, I think this is a great opportunity for us to have all parties come together and figure this out and not let this turn into another Polston property fiasco. I wasn't around, I wasn't on council when all this stuff happened. I can make a promise to you all that as far as I am concerned, I will listen to everybody who has input on this. And I think it's important as us as council to not communicate, to not show or tell people that anything has been done. Nothing has been decided. We're, like Mr. Grego said at the beginning of the meeting, we're going to do our due diligence. This is going to be a long, drawn-out process, and everybody's opinions will be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Vigil. Councilor Daniel.
Thank you. So to address Councilors Griego and Hensley, I will not be attending CML because I will be going to an event about the opiate crisis that same day and sitting on a panel there. So I apologize for not being in attendance at CML because I do think that's a very valuable thing. It just happened to be on the same day. I wanted to say thank you to the Alamosa Parks and Rec Department for the Ice Fest. It was phenomenal. You guys did a great job. I can't speak more highly of it. I had a fantastic time, and I really wanted to say thank you to the mayor for doing the polar plunge with me. That was fantastic.
Well, you were such a motivation. You encouraged me to do it. I said, well, I was doing it to support her, actually, so thank you.
It was great, and all of the events you attended, and Councilor Hensley, too, judging the costume contest and things. I think it was just a really great community event, and I think the team did really, really well. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. You guys did an awesome job.
Thank you so very much, Councilor Daniel. Councilor Carson?
I'd just like to reiterate what Councilor Vigil said and tell the chief thank you, and you guys be safe. It's pretty scary out there, and you guys are in our prayers.
Okay. Okay, and I have a few comments. Thank you to the entire staff for your participation in the Rio Frio activities throughout the community. It took a lot of us and a lot of volunteers and a lot of help, and it turned out to be one great event. Like Councilor Daniel was saying earlier about the polar plunge. I really like the new location to where we're doing it now, and the carousel. Now, I'm gonna tell you what I was thinking when Janine told me that they were gonna have a carousel. I thought, why would they put a carousel on ice? That doesn't make a lot of sense. That's dangerous. So when I got there and saw the actual carousel, I thought that was the coolest thing ever, to see so many kids on that ice going around in circles. So whoever came up with that idea, I give you a round of applause. Good job. And also the grand opening was a huge success. We had so many people show up there throughout the community. A lot of elected officials from the county as well showed up and supported the event. So I thank everyone who showed up to that event. And so many people, like many of the council members have said, are really excited about the hopes and the possibilities and the things that we can do with that multi-use pavilion. And then finally, I was reading an article today, and I think it was Colorado Public Radio webpage, and it made mention of our own chief, Dwayne Oaks, and his staff, and it says with the use of, is it called Narcan, they've been able to save 8 lives in Alamosa. That's 8 lives. And it's amazing to read an article online about your police chief and the great things that they're doing in the community with the staff that he has. So thank you so much, Chief. Councilor Vijo.
Sorry, Mayor, there's one more thing I forgot to mention.
No problem.
And this just happened by chance on Facebook. A woman who I think is affiliated with the new Starbucks opening up, send out a deal where apply for the jobs and, baristas and training and stuff like that. And I just shared it on my city council page, and she messaged me back saying, thank you for the share, and we would like to invite you all to our ribbon cutting and coordination with the city and getting some of us up there. So I'm going to pass that along to Heather and let her take care of it, just so you guys know what that as well. And I think she said there's going to be like 16 barista jobs, and so it's going to be it's going to be more jobs in town. Thanks.
Thank you so very much. Appreciate it. Okay, council, we don't have any further comments. The meeting is adjourned.